At higher levels, fear rarely looks like panic. It looks like another round of edits, another thumbnail tweet, and finding another reason to delay publishing. Working with creators, I've realized that high-level performers don't experience less fear. They train themselves to respond differently to it. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact skills that high-level creators develop to keep taking action even when their fear tells them to pull back. Most creators assume that as they grow, fear gets easier to handle. It doesn't. As your channel grows, the stakes get higher. More visibility, more judgment, more expectations, and your brain notices all of it. Your brain is not designed to maximize growth. It's designed to minimize risk. There's actually a term for this in neuroscience called the negativity bias. Your brain is constantly scanning for anything unfamiliar, uncertain, or things that might make you feel socially exposed. And it will flag all of it as a potential threat. So things like posting more consistently, taking bigger creative risks, being more visible online. To your brain, these can all register as threats to your safety. And here's the part most creators don't realize. The brain doesn't reliably distinguish between actual physical danger and mere social exposure. The fear you feel before publishing a bold video can activate the same protective response as being chased by a grizzly bear. Not identical, but close enough to feel very real. And here's where most creators make it worse without even knowing it. The way they respond to fear is exactly what keeps it alive. Fear itself is not the main issue. Avoidance is. Here's a pattern that plays out repeatedly. Fear shows up, hesitation follows, then comes a behavior that relieves the discomfort. Delaying the upload, over-editing, waiting for the right moment that never quite arrives. And for a moment, the discomfort goes away. And that relief feels good. And your brain takes note of it. So over time, your brain learns that avoidance equals relief equals safety. So the next time fear shows up, the pull toward avoidance gets stronger, not weaker. You didn't escape fear, you just reinforced it. There's a famous research study out of Sweden where psychologists treated people with severe specific phobias, including spider phobias, using gradual exposure therapy. The process was simple. They started with looking at a photo of a spider, then being in the same room as a live spider, then getting close enough to touch it, and then finally they progressed to actually holding it. And here's what they found. The brain updates its threat response, not through avoidance, but through repeated exposure without retreating. With every exposure, the brain learned the feared outcome was survivable and less threatening than predicted. For creators, the same mechanism applies. Fear grows when you avoid it. It shrinks when you face it. So the moment you notice hesitation, that's the moment to move. Not later, not when you feel more ready. This is where most creators get it backwards. They're waiting to feel confident before they act, and confidence just doesn't work that way. The belief that you need confidence before you act is one of the most common patterns that keeps creators stuck. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It's a result of it. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called self-efficacy, which is essentially your brain's belief in its own ability to handle a specific challenge. And research consistently shows that self-efficacy isn't built through motivation or positive affirmations. It's built through what psychologists call mastery experiences. Direct evidence that you can do the thing. In other words, your brain builds belief through experiences, not intention. The formula is straightforward. Action creates evidence, and evidence builds confidence. Every time you post despite discomfort, record despite self-doubt, show up despite uncertainty, and survive the experience, your brain adds another data point to its model. Over time, the internal story starts to shift, not because you convinced yourself, but because you showed yourself real proof. So instead of "I'm not confident enough to do this yet," the reframe is "I build confidence by taking this action." Your brain trusts evidence, not intention. So if fear doesn't go away and confidence is built through action, the real question becomes, how do you actually act while fear is coming up? That's the execution skill, and most creators were never taught it. You've probably heard the advice, feel the fear and do it anyway. And high-level creators actually do that. What separates them isn't that they're braver or more naturally confident. It's that they've built specific skills that make it possible to act even when fear is present. Most creators never develop those skills. Here's what they are. Skill number 1 is regulation. When fear activates, your nervous system responds. Increased heart rate, tension in the body, a sense of urgency or emotional activation. None of that means something is actually wrong, but it can make it very hard to think clearly and act intentionally. Regulation is the ability to stay functional when fear shows up, not eliminate it, not push through it with force, but just manage it enough to stay functional. That can be as simple as taking a deep breath before you react, noticing the tension in your body and choosing not to act from it, or giving yourself a moment before the hesitation turns into a decision. Fear doesn't need to completely disappear before you take action. It just needs to come down enough that you can choose your next move. Skill number 2 is reframing. Fear only controls your behavior because of the meaning you attach to it. If fear means I'm not ready, you'll wait. If fear means I'm not capable, you'll retreat. If fear means this is dangerous, you're going to avoid. High-level creators train themselves to reframe the signal. So instead of this fear means something is wrong, the mindset shift is this is what growth feels like. This is the signal that I'm at the edge of what's comfortable. When you feel fear, it doesn't mean you're incapable. It just means you're close to something that matters. A useful question in that moment is, what would a high-level creator do right now? Not to fake confidence, but just as a reminder that fear doesn't have to be the one making the decision. Skill number 3 is rapid response. This one is critical, and it's where most creators get caught without realizing it. There's a short window between when fear shows up and when it transforms into something more complex and harder to interrupt. The more you grow, the better fear gets at disguising itself. It looks like saying yes to a collaboration that feels safe instead of pitching the bigger one, or filming the video you know will perform instead of the one you actually want to make. Fear at higher levels becomes more intelligent. It disguises itself as logic, optimization, or preparation. It starts to sound like a reasonable strategy. And the longer you hesitate, negotiate, and analyze, the stronger the fear pattern becomes. The key is to act before fear disguises itself as logic. That means publish before over-optimizing, commit to the creative direction, make the riskier video, decide faster, take the next visible step before overthinking takes over. Speed interrupts the pattern. Here's an honest question. Where in your channel right now is hesitation or avoidance hiding behind strategy? Because the answer to that question is where your next level of growth is hiding. Drop a comment below and let me know what came up for you. High-level creators aren't successful because they feel less fear. It's because they expect fear as part of the process. They regulate instead of react. They reframe the signal instead of following it blindly. They act before the hesitation becomes a pattern. And they build confidence not by preparing until they feel ready, but by accumulating evidence through repeated execution. Fear doesn't go away when you grow, but your response to it determines whether you do. The creators who break through are not the ones who feel less fear. They're the ones who stop letting it control them. Once you see how much fear shapes your behavior, you start realizing that most creators massively underestimate how psychological YouTube actually is. In the next video, I'm breaking down my 10-30-60 rule of YouTube growth and why mindset has a far bigger impact on your channel than most creators think. You can watch it right here.